Hello friends. People say that they will perform better in their lives when their times will change. I'm not here to change your times, but just to tell you that what is a particular angle between the two hands of a clock at a particular time. Needless to say, we are going to cover the topic of clocks in this lecture. Now students, I am Harinder. I have been training students for Quant for the last 20 years in the different competitive exams. So before we start with the topic of clocks, let's have an overview of the session. First of all, we are going to learn about the speeds of the hour hand as well as of the minute hand. Then we are going to learn the concept of relative speed, then the angle between the two hands at any particular time, and finally there are some particular questions and their answer key for your extra practice. Now let's start with the concept, students. Now a clock is just like a complete circle and it has 360 degrees. Now it has been divided into 12 equal parts, so you can see each part is 30 degrees. So the spaces we call as 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, each part is worth 30 degrees. So 12 parts make 360, which makes a complete circle or a clock. Then as minute hand takes one complete round or one complete revolution in 1 hour, students, so you can say it covers 360 degrees in 60 minutes. So that tells us basically that the speed of the minute hand happens to be 6 degrees per minute. That is the first important point. Moving on. Now hour hand covers only one part out of those 12 parts, students. From 1 to 2, from 2 to 3, 3 to 4. So it covers one part out of those 12. So you can say hour hand basically covers 30 degrees in 60 minutes. That takes us to the speed of the hour hand as half degree per minute. So it is 1/2 degree per minute. Now we just covered earlier that minute hand covers 6 degrees per minute, students, and hour hand covers half a degree. So the relative speed of the minute hand is 1/2 or 11/2 degrees per minute. So students, this 11/2 degrees is very important, as we shall be solving most of our questions with the help of this. Let me repeat here. Minute hand travels 6 degrees per minute. Hour hand covers half a degree. As both the hands move in the clockwise direction, so the relative speed will be their difference. Now 6 minus half gives us 5.5 degrees or 11/2 degrees. This is the relative speed of the minute hand. So relative means the degrees which the hour hand will travel has already been calculated and subtracted from the speed of the minute hand. Now let's go to a few important points before we start with the questions. The first important point is, students, that minute hand and hour hand, they coincide once every hour, but in a 12-hour period they coincide 11 times. So they don't coincide 12 times, they coincide 11 times. This is due to only one coincidence between 11 and 1. So between 11 and 1, they don't meet 2 times, rather they meet only once, students, which is exactly at 12 o'clock. After that, every hour there is one angle of 180 degrees, students, between the hands of the clock. But again, in a 12-hour period, there are 11 such angles, and it is also known as the hands are in a straight line in the opposite direction. And student, this is due to only one such angle between 5 and 7 o'clock. Between 5 and 7, there is only one such angle, which is exactly at 6 o'clock. Moving on, in every hour there are 2 right angle, students. But in a 12-hour period there are 22 such angles, and you can see here that is because there are exactly one right angle less due to 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. the angle which occurs at 3 o'clock and the angle which occurs at 9 o'clock, we may call it is between 2 and 3 or 3 and 4, or between 8 and 9 and 9 and 10. So right, so in 12 hours there are 22 such angles. Right students? One more relevant point here. Rather, we can conclude that any angle between 0 and 180 degree is formed twice in every hour, but in a 12-hour period it happens 22 times. Right students? Now let's go to the questions and solve those. This is the first question students. Here, at what time between 7 and 8 the hands of a clock coincide with each other? Now students, here you know that at 7 o'clock the position of the hands is there in front of you. Now minute hand has to move from here till here to coincide. That is, the minute hand which at present is here, you want to know when will it come at this position, the position that you made red here. Now students, minute hand has to travel 210 degrees relatively, because we learnt every part is worth 30 degrees. So 7 parts will be worth 30 into 7, 210 degrees. Mind it, we have to see in the clockwise direction only, as the hand move only in the clockwise direction. Now minute hand has to gain these 210 degrees relatively. That is, our hand, we assume it stays at this position. So we take the relative speed of 11/2 degrees. Now it covers 11/2 degrees relatively in 1 minute. So it will cover 1 degree in 2/11 minutes. So it will cover 210 degrees in 2/11 into 210. This happens to be 420/11. We can solve it and get this is 11 3 is the 33, 990, it is 38 2/11 minutes past 4. So students, this 38 2/11 becomes our answer for this question. Right? I hope you are clear. And for now on, you can remember this point, that whatever number of minutes, number of degrees you want minute hands to gain, we need to multiply it directly by 2/11. As this 2/11 is most important and will be used everywhere. Let's go to the next question. So this is answer. Now you wanted to straight line in the opposite direction. Firstly, students, try to be clear. Our hand is at position 7. Now which is a position which is reverse to the position number 7, students? It is when this occurs, the minute hand happens at position 1. Now right now minute hand is at 12. You want to bring it to 1. So how many degrees it needs to travel? Students, you can see it needs to travel 30 degrees. And that too relatively. So relatively means we need to multiply it by 2/11. Your answer becomes 60/11, or that is 5/11 minutes past 7. Mind it students, because the question is between 7 and 8, so your starting point will always be 7. After that, the next one, answer I told you, 5/11. 7 and 8, the hands of a clock be at right angles, students. Now here students, the position of the hour hand is at 7. Now in which position you should take minute hand to be so that it makes an angle of 90 degrees. Now you know that every part is 30 degrees. From 7 to 6, 6 to 5, 5 to 4. From there you can judge if our hand stays here only. So if the minute hand comes at the position 4, you can see there will be a right angle. Now minute hand has to come from 12 to 4. That is the position it was there to position 4 it has to come. So it has to cover how many degrees? It has to cover 120 degrees relatively. So into 2/11. So you get the first answer as 240/11.
11 2s are 22, 20, so it is 21, 9 by 11 minutes past 7. So students, this very thing you could have thought in one more way also. From the position 12 to position 7, we know there is a total gap of 210 degrees. And you want to make this gap as 90. So this is to be reduced by how many degrees? 120. So from that you can generate, it has to be 120 into 2 by 11. Now students, this is a first right angle. We learnt earlier that there are two right angles. Now for the second right angle we have to do what? For the second right angle, can we say the relative position will be exactly the reverse? That is, right now if minute hand is at 4, the moment it will reach at 10, it will be exactly in the reverse position. But we have to answer how many minutes past 7. Now starting from 12 and then moving on till 10, it has to cover a total of 300 degrees. Right students? Or you can very well remember this as that whatever degrees it has to go cover for the first one plus 180 you can do to find the second one. So it is 300 into 2 by 11. That is 600 by 11. 11 5s are 55, 550, so it is 54, 6 by 11 minutes past 7. So students, there will be two right angles. One we said will be at 21, 9 by 11 minutes and second will be at 54, 6 by 11 minutes past 7. Now students, so these are the two answers. Now students, here is a direct formula which some of you may prefer, people who don't like to work in terms of concept, that you can find the angle between the two hands by applying this formula or this formula. Now the point that come in your mind is why two formulas? Firstly, let me clear this. Angle, this tells us the angle that made between the two hands. M is after how many minutes and H is how many hours. And mind it, we will always take the earlier hour over here. If you want to know between 7 and 8, H will always take as 7 in this case. Now students, these are the two formulas because you never know that hour hand is ahead of the minute hand or minute hand is ahead of the hour hand. It may happen both ways. So you need to apply both the formulas. One will give you the right answer and other will give you the answer in negative, which you will just reject. Right? Now as far as coincidence is concerned, you will get the answer from both of these. As well as 180 degree answer is concerned, you will get one answer wrong and one you will get right. And for the two right angles, you will apply both the formulas. You will get the time for the first right angle from one formula and the second right angle from the other. Both the formulas have their own usabilities, right? Because you never know which is going to be farther. Is the minute hand ahead of the hour hand or vice versa? Let's move further students. Now here in this question, you want to find the angle between the two hands at 4 o'clock. So let's find it with the help of formula students. Let me tell you otherwise as well. You know at 4 o'clock, the difference between the two hands will be, as you can see there, it will be 120. The hour hand is ahead by 120 degrees. What you're going to do is, at 4 o'clock it is 120 and minute hand is at 12 position only, so your answer becomes 120 degrees. There is nothing to be done in order to answer it this way. Now let's see the application of the formula. Now students, here because hour hand is at position 4 and minute hand is at 0, so you put the value of M here as 0 and this, if you put H as 4, you get it as minus 120. Similarly, if you do the same here, you get it as 120. So as I told you, it cannot be negative, the angle, this becomes wrong and your answer becomes this 120 here. 120 is your answer. Right students, moving on. You want to calculate the angle at 5:30. Let's do the calculation by formulas only students. Hour hand is after 5, minute hand 30 means position 6. Now you can put the value students here. M will be 30 minutes and H will be 5. Put up the values. So theta shall be equal to 11 into 30 by 2 minus 30 into 5. So students, here 11 into 15, 165 minus 150. Our answer happens to be 15 degrees. So 15 becomes our answer. Right, students? If you apply the second formula, you get a negative answer. Then 8:20. Now our hand will be at 8 and minute is 20. Let's solve it by formula. Now here if you place it in the first formula, you get the answer as negative. You put it in the second one, 30 into h is 8 minus 11 into 20 by 2. Now here 2, this is 10. Now 30 into 8 is 240 minus 11 into 10 is 110. So our answer happens to be 130. So 130 degrees is our answer. Right, students? I hope you are clear about how to apply the use of this in finding the angle between the two hands, the right angles, the straight lines, both direction. Now then, students, after this answer, here are a few practice questions for you. 2 questions. Then 2 more questions having the same kind of question, students. And these are the answers for those questions. I hope you all have learned the concept of clocks and will be able to apply that in the questions on clocks. Right? Thank you so much, students. Happy learning.